We're only days away from what I call Day of Judgment, Tuesday, November 3rd, when we will elect the next president of the United States. And I come to you, not as a Democrat, not as a Republican. I come to you, I speak to you from my heart to your heart as an American, someone who cares deeply about the future of this country. And for those still undecided, we need to be honest about the dangers posed by the Democrats to our democracy. First, let's talk about the media. It is not the job of the media to tell the American people who to vote for. It is not the job of CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post to dictate to the American people who their choice should be. And very clearly, that seems to be the case. Because we have one candidate, the President of the United States, anything he says is scrutinized. Every tweet that comes out is looked on and analyzed for days and days and days. And then we have the candidate for the Democratic Party, Joe Biden. We have no idea at this time what he stands for, what his positions are, what his positions are going to be if he should be elected president. The media doesn't care to ask him questions. When he appears in front of the media, you and I have watched this again and again, he has a piece of paper in his hand, and he literally has like 3 reporters that he is going to call on. Guess which reporters he's calling on? He's not calling on Fox, that I can guarantee you. The media has been incredibly unfair. They have played the role that they are part of the campaign of Joe Biden. They haven't asked the tough questions. They're not interested. They have one single interest, and I think we all know that. Let's be honest. They hate Donald Trump. They can't stand him. They dream about him at night, and they want to destroy him, and they want to make sure that Joe Biden gets elected regardless. They don't want to ask questions. They don't want to be tough with him. They don't want to deal with the potential scandal in his own family. They don't want to ask the questions. This has never happened before to this extent, what is happening in terms of the media. The American people deserve that our free press not endanger our democracy and stop being in bed with the Democratic Party. One of the other things that people care so much about, obviously, I care desperately. I wasn't able to see my grandchildren for weeks and weeks and months because of the COVID. But ladies and gentlemen, for the Democratic Party to say again and again that the 200,000 people who have died of COVID, it's all the responsibility of the President of the United States. Donald Trump is responsible for all the deaths. There are no mayors, there are no governors, there are no other people. I mean, the fact that in New York alone, one single man who happens to be a Democrat, Governor Cuomo, was responsible personally for the deaths of 10,000 people who were sent to nursing homes, COVID patients who were sent to nursing homes. Was that insane? Does anybody care about that? But no. Those deaths we attribute to the President of the United States. How ridiculous, how outrageous. Could we have done better? Everyone could have done better, of course. As I speak to you, look what's going on all over the world. We have in France 100,000 cases a day. Are the French people blaming Macron? Are they saying that the president of France is responsible? Or that Boris Johnson in England is responsible? Or the leaders of Italy, Spain, Belgium, that they are responsible? Or maybe the Democratic Party, maybe Joe Biden wants to blame President Trump for what's going on in Europe. Maybe that's what he wants to do. By the way, what precisely is the Biden plan to deal with Corona? Do you have any idea? Can you list the first, second, third things that Biden would do? I have no clue. Everyone is trying to deal with the COVID, trying to address the issue, but for Democrats to simply say, it's the President of the United States, I mean, they are accusing our president of murdering over 200,000 people. Biden says it again and again, and every single Democrat does it all the time. It's not fair. It's not right. And what is going on in this country? Oh, my God. We're watching the riots, the very latest riots happening in Philadelphia, happening in New York, happening in Portland. We need to take this seriously. Oh my God, people's businesses being destroyed, their lives being destroyed. We're talking about innocent people. There is no excuse for rioting, violence, looting. What's the excuse for breaking into stores and looting sneakers and suits and pants and undershirts and underwear? What does that have to do with the cause? You need to pretend that it is your establishment, the store, the commercial establishment that you have built over 20 years that gets burned down for no freaking reason because rioters think that that's the way to go. And this is what is happening in America today. And I am saying to you, if you trust the Democratic Party that says very little about the rioters, very little, you got to pull it out of them. You got to embarrass them until they finally say something. If you want to trust the Democratic Party, that if they get elected, if Biden gets elected, that he is going to deal with it, that it's going to be better, you're fooling yourself. It's just not going to happen. But it is outrageous what is going on. Without the police, we have no society. Without the police, we have chaos. 30 police officers injured in Philadelphia. One of those police officers in the hospital as we speak. And other cities, the same thing. Inexcusable. And the Democratic Party is pretty silent. After they criticized the police, they managed to fit in the part about the rioting. They're against rioting. Boy, what courage they have. But the anti-police rhetoric in this country is out of control and will only get worse with a Democratic administration. The intolerance that exists. People have to be afraid to display that they support President Trump. They have to be concerned about wearing a hat that says, "Make America Great," because someone is going to physically assault them, because someone is going to attack them. Is this the America that we want? Is this the America that we live in? Is this what the principles of progressive leftist radicals, this is what America is all about? That if we don't like what you stand for, if we don't like what you're saying, we are going to remove you from society. We are going to destroy you. If you are a professor at a university where scholarship and discussion is critical that it take place between students, professors, but if a professor says something that some of the students don't like, chaos breaks out. Attempts are made to destroy that professor's life, or if people in society in general, something is terribly wrong in America, my friends. We need to be awake to this reality before we vote on November 3rd. I'm not saying that Trump is perfect. Far from it. I agree with you. But we need to be honest about the things that we see in the Democratic Party. Do you know what the Democratic Party stands for? I am a Democrat. I served in the New York State Assembly as a Democrat for 36 years. I was elected 18 times as a Democrat. I'm looking at the Democratic Party. I have no idea what they stand for. Do they stand for the Biden agenda, the Bernie Sanders agenda, the AOC agenda, the Tlaib Omar agenda, maybe Linda Sarsour's agenda? I have no clue, and I don't think you have a clue either, because no one has asked Biden a lot of questions. We only have a couple of days left. Why isn't the media grilling Biden? Why is Biden afraid? Hey, look, I can understand that. I can understand why the Biden campaign people want to keep him hidden as much as possible. I understand why they do not want too many questions asked, because those answers would destroy the Biden campaign, because they don't have answers, because they're trying to make so many different groups within the Democratic Party happy. They don't want to upset Bernie Sanders. They don't want to upset the radical leftist part of the Democratic Party, because they can't win without that part of the Democratic Party. We need to be aware of this, of what is awaiting us after November 3rd. Look what's going on today, the intolerance. Only imagine what's going to happen if Biden wins. I want to say to everyone, we live in the most wonderful country in the world. Not perfect. Nothing's perfect. We always need to do better, but there is no country greater than this country, than our country, in terms of all the values that we appreciate. But things can change pretty fast. Things can change dramatically if we're not careful. If we take for granted the values of what America stands for, those values could disappear. You may say, oh no, that's not going to happen. Well, study your history. There were many places in different parts of the world where they had wonderful values, where they had wonderful, wonderful things in their country, and things changed overnight, or things changed over a period of time. That freedom, that democracy, those values disappeared. And finally, I look at the Democratic Party. Something has changed so dramatically. The tolerance of anti-Semites within the Democratic Party is a reality that no one can deny. Within its rank, there's a tolerance for anti-Semites. It used to be if you were an anti-Semite, it didn't matter, Republican, Democrat, everyone would come together and condemn it, but not anymore. From admiration for Farrakhan, the most vile anti-Semite in this country, to Linda Sarsour, who supports terrorists openly, publicly. And then you have the rest of them, Ocasio-Cortez, Tlaib, Omar, and many other people in the Democratic Party who were recently elected. It is a very dangerous situation. People who support the BDS movement that basically is dedicated to the destruction of the state of Israel. This is what you have within the Democratic Party. This is the new Democratic Party. Just recently, the most obnoxious, the most horrible thing, I can't even believe this, but you had a Democratic Congressman, Deutsch from Florida, calling the President of the United States Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler. Oh my God, is that possible? Whatever you think of the President of the United States, do you think it was proper to call him Adolf Hitler? Did anyone in the Democratic Party criticize one single elected official in the Democratic Party? Did Schumer, Nadler, Schiff, all the others say anything about our president being called Adolf Hitler? The man responsible for the tragedies, for the murder of tens of millions of people? And the candidate of my party, Joe Biden, referring to our president as Joseph Goebbels. Joseph Goebbels was the number 2 man in Nazi Germany. Joseph Goebbels was the person who helped to create the final solution. He was the right-hand person for Adolf Hitler. And our candidate of the Democratic Party calls the President of the United States Joseph Goebbels, and nobody reacts to it? I don't think it was covered by any of the media, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times. I don't think anybody covered it. Is that beyond comprehension? I mean, you have a Democratic Congress member of the Democratic Party talking about the illegal migrants who were coming into this country, and she spoke about that they were being put into concentration camps. I know a little bit about concentration camps because my mother spent 9 months in Auschwitz. Concentration camps is where you starve to death. Concentration camps is where they experiment on you. Concentration camps is where they torture you. And most of my family that went to Auschwitz with my mother in 1944 went straight to the gas chambers. So Ocasio-Cortez calls these centers in America for illegal migrants, calls it a concentration camp. What is wrong with the Democratic Party? We need to be aware and awake and know what we are doing. It is about the future of our great nation. God forbid what we have today, a wonderful, wonderful country with problems. I understand that. We could lose all of it. It can change dramatically with a Biden administration, with Bernie Sanders being in the cabinet, with Ocasio-Cortez being in the cabinet, yes, and many other radical leftists who undermine this country. Think carefully about the issues. Think carefully about the decision you're going to make. I understand that you don't like the behavior of our president in terms of his rhetoric, in terms of his Twitter account and the things that he does. I don't like it either. I haven't liked it for 3.5 years. But I am looking at both sides, and I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to be real. You know, I am loyal to America, not to the Democratic Party and not to the Republican Party. I love this country, and I want this great nation to continue to be strong and grow and to be an example to all nations in the world. And that's why, without hesitation, knowing the realities of Donald Trump, I will proudly vote to re-elect President Donald Trump.